Good morning. My name is Martha. Welcome back to my channel, Retire Abroad Finance. And I'm coming to you from my balcony in Saranda, Albania. I'll insert a little picture here of how beautiful our view is. It's really lovely, and it's a real treat every day. For those of you who are not aware, my husband and I sold everything and are retired, and we travel the world, and this is our retirement, slow traveling. We try to spend about a month in each location if we can, and we basically are just living our life someplace else, or in our case, a lot of someplace else's. So the subject of today's video is why it's really important to have a cushion in your monthly budget or your annual budget. We have a situation now that we are very thankful for this cushion. So to begin with, we have a budget of $4,000 a month, which if you extrapolate that out, it's $48,000 a year. And we actually tend to look at things more on an annual budget. So if we have an inexpensive month someplace, then we have more money for maybe something special we want to do, or go someplace a little bit more expensive than $4,000 a month. But having a general idea of $4,000 a month is what is really helpful, and helps me to see where we're at. So last month we were in Croatia, and we did come in under the $4,000, quite a bit under as a matter of fact, which was wonderful. Croatia is a bit more expensive than Albania. And so we knew that coming here to Albania, we felt very comfortably, it wasn't going to be an issue, the $4,000 budget. We were going to be pretty far under that. So we have decided, and this is nothing bad about Saranda, but we have decided to only spend 2 weeks in Saranda, even though we paid for a month with our apartment. We decided instead to take the last 2 weeks of our stay here and to take the ferry over into Greece and add 2 weeks on to our next destination, which was Greece. So instead of having 1 month in Albania, 2 weeks in Greece before we start heading towards Australia for the holidays, we decided to do 2 weeks in Albania, 1 month in Greece. So that's basically what we've done. So Saranda is absolutely beautiful, and the people are wonderful. The food is delicious. The issue that we're having is pertinent to me. I have a bad hip, and I was not aware of how steep the streets are here. They're extremely steep, like a grade like that. I mean, I'm not exaggerating. They're very short, and they're climbing up the hill. So there's a little bit of back and forth, but it's a lot of this. And that in and of itself wouldn't be a huge deal if I didn't have to climb it every day to get out, which I do. We're way down by the water, and we're not along the boardwalk, so you can't really walk straight to get to anywhere. There's a lot of private hotel beaches near us, and so they're walled off. And so you can't really keep going along the beach. You can't keep walking along the beach like you could with Croatia. You just step out the door and you could just walk and walk and walk. It's not like that here. You have to go up the driveway to get to like what I call the first level road. And the first level road, you can kind of sort of keep it level, but it's mostly apartments and hotels. There are restaurants there. They're really catering to tourists, so there's not a lot of traditional Albanian food. It's more like, souvlaki sandwiches and pizza, and it's good, grilled meat, but it's not really the experience I was looking for. And then, even there, I would say probably only 1 out of 5 restaurants is open because it's off season. Now, I knew it was going to be off season, so this is not me complaining. But my assumption was that we would be able to get to the local restaurants very easily, the local areas rather, and then their restaurants would be open and we would be able to eat there. We did eat at a local restaurant in Tirana, which was down a little alleyway, and I mean, no English at all. The food was fantastic. It was so good and very, very different than what you saw as you walked along the main street where the tourists are. So in any case, for us to get to the local area, you have to climb the hill, then you have like the first level, then climb another hill, and then like a second level, and that's where we've gone grocery shopping before. That was a haul. And then climb a third level and a fourth level. I mean, they just keep going up, and you know, the higher up you go, the more local it becomes. So I'm having a hard time with my hip and these hills. So in thinking about it, you know, I don't want to not be able to leave our apartment without having, you know, days of pain. So it's nothing against Saranda. Saranda is absolutely beautiful. Like I said, people are wonderful. It's very affordable here. I just think that perhaps it would be better for us to spend a shorter amount of time here now and then come back again after I'm able to have my hip operated on, which I hope to be in the next year or so. I'm getting it looked at in Thailand. Again, I did have an assessment done in the US a couple of years ago, and they said, yes, you do need a new hip. I've already had an SI joint fusion, which helped a bit, but they said, yeah, you do need a new hip. But at the time, they wouldn't do it for me because I wasn't old enough. So don't even start me on that. You know, hopefully in Thailand, I'll be able to get a plan of action going forward. And then whether or not I have the operation in Thailand or in Malaysia will depend on a lot of things. So, but that will probably, in all honesty, that will probably be in the spring sometime. So why did I tell you all this about us changing our plans, right? This is where it's really important to have cushion in your budget. So if we didn't have cushion in our budget, then basically we would just be here in Albania, which is not a bad thing, but I would be pretty much sedentary a good deal of the time. I just wouldn't be able to go out and climb those hills. I mean, the time that we went up to the second level, went grocery shopping up there, came down, rested for a while, and then went back up again to the first level to go for a walk down to the boardwalk area so that we could walk down there, and did those steps and then back up again and came back. I was out of commission for like a day and a half. I was in a lot of pain. So that isn't how I want my retirement to be. I want to be able to walk around as much as I'm able. And the difference between my experience so far here walking and Croatia, which was, you know, very flat, and we were right down by the water and there was a boardwalk right there. It's kind of like night and day right now. So I feel like it's better for me to come back to Saranda, do it again, or another town right nearby. Do it again, you know, another time when I'm better able to climb those hills. They are no joke. So because we have cushion in our budget, because I purposely didn't go down as far as we could possibly go, we are able to, you know, have a discussion, Lou and I, you know, and Lou said, we can go early, that's fine, I don't care. And now I can go ahead and look at accommodations in Greece. There's a little ferry that goes across. It's a half an hour to an hour ferry ride. And we can take that ferry ride over and just stay for 2 weeks in one location and then take the flight we were going to take anyway up to our other Greek location. And I can walk. I can walk every day. If we didn't have that cushion, I would be here and I would be sedentary. It's also really important to have cushion in your budget when you are overseas because there are currency fluctuations. I've seen recently a few times in the Facebook groups that I'm in, posts from people who are living overseas, and they're saying that, due to the currency fluctuations, they are not able to make ends meet, which makes me really sad. So it's one thing if you're in a country that has a run-up on inflation, like Turkey, like Argentina, where just things go crazy. There's a destabilization of the economy, and all of a sudden things are 30, 40, 50% more expensive. That's one thing. But if you go from, being able to stay in a country when it's, let's take the euro. If you're in a country and you can stay there when it's $1.12 to the euro, but if it goes to $1.16 to the euro and now you can't stay there, you may have your budget too tight. My husband asks me over and over when I tell him, this is where we're at for the month with the budget. We're doing great with the budget. He says, yeah, but how much do we bring in? How much were the dividends? And I tell him, and it's more than $4,000. And he says, well, then what does it matter? What we spent. And okay, the $4,000 is self-imposed, and I just keep taking the overage and I add it to our overall cushion. I'd eventually like to get to 2 years worth of living expenses in cash, not counting our emergency savings. But, I need to have that cushion. If the economy starts to go down, if, so our dividend payments aren't, maybe something that changes. Sometimes stocks go through a change where they used to pay dividends and now they don't pay dividends. And so then you got to sell it all off, and usually at a loss because everybody else is doing it, and find another investment that's going to pay you. There's all kinds of things that can happen. And I want to be able to have cushion in our monthly budget plus an overall cushion of money that I can take from if needed. And I know that there are people out there that are traveling and kind of winging it. I don't have another word for it, winging it. That's not me. That's not my personality. It's never going to be. I have us planned out into fall of 2026 of where we're going to be. I have most of our accommodations paid for. I have, I'm not ever going to be the person that's going to say, let's throw a backpack on and walk through Russia. I'm not going to do that. It's just not who I am. But if your budget to travel is so tight that you can't pivot when something happens, or you can't weather currency fluctuations, then I'd really encourage you to take another look at your plan. Run it through Bolden. That's what I did. I have videos here that I'll link to on Bolden and a couple of scenarios, as well as how to use it. You can use it as a free tool. It's a great tool. But, make sure that you have cushion when you're traveling. So we're going to go from a very inexpensive location, being Albania, which is one of the most inexpensive places to be in Europe, to a moderately expensive place, being Greece. We're going to pay more for 2 weeks accommodation in Greece than we paid for the full month for a place in Albania. And I can do that because I have cushion. Just to give you an idea, our daily spend is, I believe, about $140, $138, $140 for $4,000 a month. If we go grocery shopping and just fix our own food and don't go out to a restaurant one day, for that day, all of our prorated costs, everything for us to, be in this apartment in Albania, it's like $44. That's it. So every day we stay here, if we don't go out, we add $100 back into our pot for the month. And if we decide to eat out, you can have a really nice meal here for the equivalent of about $43 US. Really nice. Really nice. We're talking, seafood at a fancy place and, wine and, or a drink or whatever. Really nice. You can also go down the street and get a souvlaki sandwich for about $4. A hamburger, there's a place down the way that's less than $6. So, it's very affordable here. And we're going to be going from here to Greece. And again, I can do that because I have cushion. So, do you have cushion in your budget? If you're traveling, do you have cushion there? Do you have cushion overall like I do? I have two different kinds of cushion, remember. I have the cushion that's built into my monthly budget or my annual budget, and then I also have a reserve of cash that I call cushion. I have a reserve of cash that if anything happens to the economy, my dividends aren't coming in, anything like that, I can draw from that, and that's what I'm building up to 2 years worth. It's currently at about a year and a half. Plus I have my emergency savings that gets me home if something happens. It'll get us home from virtually anywhere, first class if we need to. But have you got something like that in your budget? And if you are traveling, do you have cushion in your budget? Tell me below. Tell me below what you think about this. It's a very interesting thing to join these groups of people that are also traveling and meet people that they're basically living paycheck to paycheck, but they're living it overseas. I couldn't deal with that. The stress would be through the roof. We actually met another couple the other day that, I don't know how accurate they were when they said this, but they said that they had no savings and they were just working online overseas. And I thought, well, in their own business, which is fine. But again, I don't think I could ever do that. And that's not a judgment call on them. There's different personalities, right? But I'm the kind that has to have 4 different backup plans. So I don't think I could do that. But I'd be really interested in hearing what you think and, how you handle your finances. Do you have cushion? Do you have you had situations where you've had to pivot? I mean, this is a self-induced pivot. This is something that I really didn't know was going to have to happen. But, I would rather not spend the whole month practically on the couch. I'd rather be able to get out and walk around and see more. And I think that this place would be, maybe if we come in May, there will be more things that will be opening instead of closing. Everything's closing now. So I think if we come back in May, that would probably be a really good time to visit. The boat tours would be open, all the other tours would be happening instead of, to the extent that everything's closing. Thank you so much for joining me for this discussion. And I just want to say, I am really thankful for being here and very thankful that I got to see Saranda and Tirana in Albania, those 2 cities. It's lovely. The people are lovely. I'm very blessed. So I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.